Most people are doing intermittent fasting completely wrong for two reasons. And because of that, not only are they making it harder for themselves, but they're also missing out on the amazing benefits that you can get from it. So today I want to share those two big mistakes people are making and reveal how you can tweak your intermittent fasting protocol to maximize your results and burn fat faster. Intermittent fasting is an eating pattern where someone cycles between fasting and eating. It doesn't specify what you should eat like a typical diet, but instead when you should eat. The two most common methods of intermittent fasting are 16-8 and 5-2. 16-8 is where someone will fast for 16 hours of the day and then eat for 8, whereas 5-2 is typically where someone will eat for 5 days of the week and then fast for 2. As you can probably imagine, most people prefer to do the 16-8 method just because it's a lot more practical than having to fast for an entire 2 days. And the most common setup if someone is following the 16-8 intermittent fasting protocol is that they will fast in the morning from when they wake up until about midday, and then 12 p.m. to 8 p.m. will be their 8-hour eating window, and then they go back to fasting again until 12 p.m. the next day. Intermittent fasting became popular and mainstream in the mid-2010s with the release of popular books by Dr. Michael Mosley in the UK and Dr. Jason Fung in the US. Funnily enough, both of these guys are accredited with doctor status, but neither actually have their doctorates in nutrition. Very tragically, Dr. Michael Mosley actually passed away just a few months ago whilst he was on holiday in Greece, but he was a doctor of psychiatry, whereas Dr. Jason Fung is a nephrologist, which is a doctor who specializes in the kidneys. To add more fire to the fuel, the diet then got hyped up even more by celebrities. Hugh Jackman famously used it to get in shape for one of the X-Men movies where he was playing Wolverine, but as well as that, movie stars like Jennifer Aniston and even the Kardashians jumped on the hype. So you've got global movie stars and some of the biggest influencers on the planet. It's no surprise the trajectory of the diet went like this. And I'm actually not here to criticize intermittent fasting at all. It works very well for a lot of people. And I think there's two main reasons for that. One of them being a physical reason and the other being more of a psychological one. Physically speaking, it works for a proportion of the population because a lot of people just aren't that hungry in the morning, especially if they're not doing any exercise first thing. I will hold my hand up and say that I am not one of those people. I'm ravenous from the minute I wake up. I have breakfast every single day, but it wasn't always that way. When I was a teenager growing up, I actually found it very difficult to palate breakfast. I would always eat it because my mum used to tell me that breakfast is the most important meal of the day, but I still remember to this day, it's almost like PTSD, being on the bus to school and feeling physically sick. So that's the physical reason why I think intermittent fasting works for a lot of people. I also think it works for them psychologically because there's a clear, simple set of rules and frameworks for them to follow. It's not complicated. There's less decisions to make in your day-to-day life. And given how busy and how stressed a lot of people are, that can be incredibly beneficial. But here's the thing, whether you identify as someone who follows the intermittent fasting protocol or not, we're all intermittent fasting because we don't eat for 8 to 12 hours around our sleep. And a lot of people following the protocol report having more energy, feeling more alert and more focused. But all this is that their cortisol level, their stress hormone, is elevated. Now, depending on your personality, that can actually be very useful, but their cortisol level is elevated because that is their brain telling their body to go out and hunt for food. Like I say, not necessarily a bad thing, but it very much depends on your personality. I think another major reason that so many people report having more energy and less brain fog is because they've gone from eating a terrible breakfast to no breakfast. They've gone from having a couple, well, actually, let's be honest and say 4 slices of white bread toasted with butter smeared all over it, or a bowl of high sugar cereal, both of which are very well known to cause energy crashes, to then nothing. So it's not necessarily that eating no breakfast is better for them, but it is better than the breakfast choice that they were making before. And like I say, I'm not here to dump on the intermittent fasting protocol, but a lot of the purported benefits, the ones that sound more scientific, they sound sexier, they sound cooler, like the fact that it increases your insulin sensitivity or raises your norepinephrine levels, or even that it boosts your metabolism. Yes, they're all true, but we're all getting them because we're all intermittent fasting every day. Unless, of course, you're super sneaky and waking up to snack at 3 a.m. or sleepwalking to the fridge. No one is actually skipping breakfast because breakfast is breaking your fast, whether you have it at 8 a.m. or 12 p.m. Your breakfast is simply your first meal of the day. And there's a lot of myths about intermittent fasting that these experts use to support their argument as to why you should do it, saying that breakfast is bad for you, whatever you have, or that by following intermittent fasting, you're definitely going to lose weight faster, or even that it cures health problems. The worst one, though, is that it detoxifies your liver and kidneys, whatever that means. These simply just aren't true. And they've never ever been proven by high-quality scientific studies, research, or data in humans. If your goal is to lose weight and burn body fat, then intermittent fasting can be a fantastic method to do so, but only if you create a calorie deficit in the process. To be in a calorie deficit, you need to be consuming, eating and drinking fewer calories than what we call your maintenance calorie number. And your maintenance calorie number is exactly what it says on the tin. It's the number of calories that you would need to consume just to maintain your current weight and body fat percentage. But until you know your maintenance calorie number and until you start to track how much food and drink you are consuming, you have no idea whether you are creating that deficit or not. Regardless of how big or how small your eating window is, regardless of what food you're eating, regardless of whether you have 2 meals a day or 5 meals a day. If you want to lose weight and burn body fat, you need to know your maintenance calorie number, and then you need to be eating less than that consistently for an extended period of time. But here's the thing, your maintenance calorie number is specific to you because it's based on your physiology, your age, your weight, your height, and your sex, and how active your lifestyle is. So if you'd like me to help you calculate your maintenance calorie number and give you a personalized daily calorie target so that you can reach your goals faster, just click the first link in the description of this video and I'll send you my personalized recommendations for you straight away. But what I'll also do is take the time to explain all your numbers in detail so that you've got complete peace of mind that what you're doing is the right thing. Because more often than not, it's not that people don't know what to do, it's they don't know why they're doing it. And I've always found with my clients that if you understand why you're doing it, you're far more likely to stick to it. But just to reiterate, I'm not saying that you shouldn't follow an intermittent fasting protocol. I'm not saying it won't work for you. But if you're thinking about it, or if you're already doing it, you're probably doing it wrong for 2 reasons. One of the reasons is very logical and the other is quite scientific. The logical explanation as to why the normal 16-8 protocol is flawed is because of how much it's going to affect your sleep. Eating food is very taxing on your digestive system, and it's a metabolic process that raises your heart rate. And when your heart rate is raised, you can't sleep properly, because to sleep properly, to get into a deep sleep, you need your heart to be at a resting rate. It's a little bit like when you drink alcohol, but a less extreme example. When you drink alcohol, which we typically do in the evenings, you're putting a lot of pressure on several of your organs, not just your liver. The alcohol obviously has to pass through your stomach and then it has to be processed by your liver. And all of these processes, like when you eat food, are metabolic. They raise your heart rate. Now, as I said, eating food is a less extreme example of this, but I'm sure you've noticed that when you wake up after a night of drinking, you feel like you've slept worse. And this is one of my bugbears with the typical intermittent fasting protocol. If you're only eating for 8 hours of the day, which is a relatively small window, and you're not finishing eating until 8 p.m., you're increasing the likelihood that you're going to eat more food and heavier food at the back end of the day. So you might be able to fall asleep straight after you've eaten, but you won't be sleeping well. And sleep quality is just as important as sleep quantity. So eating late is kind of a form of self-sabotage. Now, of course, I understand that for some people, it's the only option they've got, whether it's due to their personal life and family commitments, or just because that's how their shift pattern with work falls. But if you are choosing, and that's the important word, choosing to eat late because you've been led to believe it's going to help you burn more fat or burn more fat faster, I can assure you that that's not true. And by doing this, you're going to harm the quality of your sleep, which actually is going to make the whole process of losing weight and burning body fat harder, because you know what it's like when you've woken up after a bad night's sleep. All of your goals and all of your motivation goes out the window. You don't care about some dumb fasting protocol. You just want to eat everything in sight. Getting bad quality sleep, particularly if it's several nights in a row, will have a very negative effect on your endocrine system, your hormonal health. So your hunger hormones, leptin and ghrelin, are going to be completely out of sync. And your cortisol, which is your stress hormone, is going to be elevated through the roof. So that's the logical rationale as to why I think most people have got their intermittent fasting protocol wrong. The second reason is actually even more scientific. Scientists who are far smarter than me have now actually proven that us humans are better at absorbing nutrients earlier in the day. So if you're not eating earlier in the day because you're following the typical 12 p.m. to 8 p.m. intermittent fasting protocol, then you're not absorbing as many of the nutrients from the food that you eat as you could be. And so you're not really getting the benefit of the food that you're eating. And that could be anything from the vitamins to the minerals to the protein to the healthy fats. So I'm not saying you shouldn't do intermittent fasting, creating an 8-hour eating window. If you're already doing it and you're seeing some success with it, you're losing weight and you're burning body fat, then keep doing it. But just make this one small adjustment. Rather than eating between 12 p.m. and 8 p.m., I'd recommend you bring your eating window forward by 2 to 4 hours. So you'd start eating at 10 or even 8 a.m. and finish eating at 6 or 4 p.m. That's going to give your body the ability to digest all the food that you've eaten long before you go to bed, so it doesn't affect your sleep quality, but it's also going to make sure that you maximize the amount of nutrients that are absorbed into your bloodstream from the food that you eat. What I should also say though is that if you've tried intermittent fasting and it hasn't worked for you, don't worry. You don't have to go to extremes to lose weight and lose body fat. People have just been conditioned to believe that the extreme solutions are the ones that must work because of the way they're marketed with the shredded guy and the lean girl, or because of some crazy isolated outlier story. And a lot of people feel like the solution that's going to work for them must be complicated or extreme or really difficult because they feel like they've tried everything. But at the end of the day, the reality is intermittent fasting is just one of many methods. The founding principle of weight loss and losing body fat is governed by the first law of thermodynamics, your ability to create and then adhere to a calorie deficit. So I really hope you've enjoyed this video, but more importantly, I hope you found it useful. And if you have, I would really appreciate it if you could show your support by smashing the thumbs up button to like the video. And leave a comment. Let me know if you've been doing intermittent fasting and if it's been working for you. And of course, don't forget to subscribe to my channel so that you don't miss the next video. And until then, bye.